Welcome back to my channel. I'm back with a new story. How are you doing? I hope you are having an amazing day. Now, before we get into today's story, please subscribe and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notifications so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. Today's shout out goes to Patience Eddie H2Z for being the first person to comment on my last video. Thank you so much for the support, babe. I love you. And now, get comfortable. And without further delay, let's get right into it. I sat in the front row of our church. I tried to feel calm and happy. My husband, Pastor Daniel, spoke loudly and passionately about purity before God. The congregation cheered him on, saying amen and nodding. But even as I looked at them, my smile felt stiff and fake. Daniel stood at the pulpit, tall and confident. Everyone admired him. He was the heart of our small town. But something felt wrong. Lately, he had become distant. He rarely laughed and always seemed lost in thoughts. I looked at our church family, feeling their warmth and support. But my heart pounded with worry. Something was off. I tried to push my concerns aside and focus on Daniel's sermon. After the service, the church buzzed with chatter and laughter. I smiled and greeted people, but inside, I felt heavy. I soon excused myself, pretending I had a headache, and went to Daniel's office. As I tidied his papers, something shiny caught my eye under some old books. I reached for it and pulled out a crumpled receipt. It was for a diamond bracelet that he had bought a month ago, one that I never received. My stomach sank. Who did he buy it for? Different thoughts raced through my mind. Was it for someone in the church? Did he have a secret lover? I leaned back against the desk, feeling tired and confused. He always talked about loyalty and love. But now those words hurt, making me doubt everything. I slipped the receipt into my pocket. Should I talk to him about this or just ignore it? Will it help to ask? I walked out of the office and took a deep breath. That night, as I sat in the living room, my heart raced as I faced Daniel. What is this about the bracelet? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. I took out the receipt and showed it to him. His face changed for a second, then he laughed, sounding too carefree for how serious I felt. It is just a gift. I bought it for Sister Grace's charity work, he said easily. I nodded, pretending to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me inside. The idea of Daniel buying a diamond bracelet for Sister Grace felt strange, but I chose not to dig deeper. Our marriage was built on trust, and I didn't want to start a fight. Later that night, after our usual prayers and dinner, Daniel drifted off to sleep quickly. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling uneasy. Our quiet home felt heavy, and I couldn't shake the worries in my mind. As Daniel slept, I decided to check his phone, something I had never done before. I stood up carefully, trying not to wake him. I reached for his phone, which was charging on the nightstand. As I picked it up, my fingers trembled. I knew his password. But after 3 tries, disappointment hit me hard. Daniel had changed it recently. My stomach twisted at the thought. Why would he change his password? What was he hiding? I put the phone down, feeling frustrated and helpless. Just as I was about to give up and go to bed, a notification popped up. I held my breath. Daniel, I am scared. What if he finds out? Fear flooded through me, and my hands shook. Who is this? My heart raced as I tried to understand the message on the screen. I knew this was a serious problem now, much worse than I had imagined. I felt both angry and scared. Who was this woman? What was Daniel hiding? I stared at the phone and took a deep breath to calm myself. This was no longer just about a bracelet. I needed to know what was going on, and I wouldn't rest until I found out. I climbed back into bed, trying to stay still. Daniel slept soundly beside me, his face peaceful, unaware of my worries. Tonight, I felt more alone than ever. After lying awake all night, I made a tough but necessary choice. I hired a private investigator, a retired policeman who would follow Daniel around for a fee and find out what he was up to. For days, I felt a mix of hope and fear, worrying about what I might discover. Would I learn something that would break my heart even more? Finally, the day came when the PI called me. Shortly after, a thick envelope was delivered to my doorstep. Inside were several photographs that revealed a world I didn't know. The first photo showed Daniel standing in front of a fancy apartment building. My heart sank as I flipped through the pictures. There he was, smiling as he led a young woman toward the entrance. It was Adanna, one of the choir members from church. My stomach dropped as I looked at the next photo. Daniel was kissing her, their bodies close together. But then, I noticed something even more disturbing in the next picture. Adanna wasn't smiling. Instead, she stood next to Daniel, her hand resting protectively over her stomach. The joyful smile that should have been on her face was gone. Instead, she looked scared and unsure. I squinted at the photo, trying to understand. The woman who was usually so lively and cheerful in church now appeared trapped. My world shattered. It was hard to believe that Daniel could do this to me. And why did Adanna look so scared? Was she forced into this situation? She was so young. What was happening? After days of searching, I finally found Adanna. My heart raced as I parked my car outside a small restaurant where she worked. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself before going inside. When I walked in, I spotted her right away. She was behind the counter, cleaning the surface. But when she saw me, her face grew wide and she looked scared. She dropped the cloth and held her stomach tightly. She looked down and whispered, "You know." "Please, ma, I didn't want this," she said, stepping back as if she wanted to run away. Her voice shook with fear, and I felt a mix of sympathy and concern for her. "Adanna," I said softly, trying to be gentle but firm. "I just want to know what happened. Please tell me the truth." Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Pastor Daniel forced me into this affair." Her words hit me hard. Anger and confusion swelled inside me. Daniel, the man I trusted, had betrayed me in an unimaginable way. But when I tried to ask her more questions, her expression changed. She suddenly looked scared and turned away from me. "He is not who you think," she said, her voice shaking. "Adanna, please don't go. I need to understand what you mean," I pleaded desperately. But before I could reach for her, she turned and ran out the back door of the restaurant, leaving me standing there, feeling lost and powerless. I rushed outside, but she was already running down the street, her figure disappearing into the crowd. Frustration and sadness washed over me. What did she mean by "it's not who you think"? Standing there, I realized I had more questions than answers. I needed to find her again. My thoughts raced in my mind. What was Daniel hiding? Why was Adanna so frightened? I took a deep breath to calm myself. I couldn't give up now. Determined, I headed back to my car. I would find Adanna again. I had to learn more about Daniel and the life he was leading outside of our home. I realized I didn't know much about Daniel's past. We had met during a church confidence and had instantly clicked. We were married within a year. He didn't like talking about his past, and I didn't want to impose. I knew he was married once, and that his wife had died. He never spoke to me about her, and I never pried. But now, I was determined to learn more about Daniel's past. Finally, I decided to meet a former church member, Mrs. Obasi, who had left the church long ago. She had left abruptly and never gave a reason for a sudden change of mind. We chose a small cafe to talk. I sat in a quiet corner, feeling anxious as I waited for her. When Mrs. Obasi arrived, her eyes showed sadness. As we sat together, it was clear she was nervous. She took a sip of her drink, searching for the right words. "I heard you are looking into Daniel's past," she said quietly, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. You need to ask him about Lagos 2015. She warned me in a low voice. I leaned closer, my heart racing. What happened in Lagos? Mrs. Obasi's face grew serious. Daniel's first wife died there. They said it was a suicide, but many people think it was murder. I felt cold fear creep down my spine. Murder? Could Daniel really be involved in something so terrible? Why would people think it was murder? I asked, trying to understand what she meant. Because it happened so suddenly, she explained, her eyes filled with sadness. She was a lovely woman. Everyone loved her in the church. After her death, Daniel changed a lot. Some thought he was hiding something. As I listened, my mind raced. How did I not know any of this? Why had no one told me before? I thought about the man I loved, the man who always preached about family and faith. If he had a hand in this tragedy, what kind of person was he? Did you ever talk to anyone who knew more? I asked, eager for more answers. Did they suspect him? Mrs. Obasi shook her head sadly. People were scared to speak out. In our church, everyone was expected to be loyal to the pastor. Any questions about his past were ignored. She looked at me seriously. But you need to be careful. Not everyone will like that you are asking these questions. A chill ran down my spine. Did he kill her? This question kept replaying in my mind. Could I really trust him? Or was I blind to the truth? As I left the cafe, I couldn't stop thinking about what I had learned. I had to dig deeper into Daniel's past and find out what really happened to his first wife. The next day, my phone buzzed on the table, making me jump. I quickly grabbed it and saw a text from Adanna. Meet me. I have proof. Excitement and worry flooded through me. This could be my chance to learn the truth. I put on a sweater and rushed out of the door, my mind filled with questions. When I arrived at a workplace, I looked around, hoping to see Adanna. But after waiting for a while, I started to feel nervous. Where was she? I sent her another message, but there was no reply. Just as I was about to leave, I noticed something on the ground near the entrance. I walked over and felt my heart drop. It was a blood-stained scarf. It was deep red, and I recognized it right away as Adanna's. Panic filled me as I picked it up. What had happened to her? I looked around, desperate to find her, but I couldn't see her anywhere. I asked a few of the workers there, and they hadn't seen her either. Had something terrible happened to her? I quickly called the private investigator I had hired. I needed to find out what was going on. Hello, the investigator answered. I found something important, I said, trying to sound calm. Adanna texted me to meet, but she wasn't there. I found a blood-stained scarf. There was a pause. A blood-stained scarf? That is serious. Did you call the police? No, I replied, my heart pounding. But she said she had proof about Daniel. I need to know if she's okay. Can you find out if she has been hurt? The PI's tone shifted as he realized the urgency. I will check with my contacts and I will go through some hospital records to see if she has been admitted anyway. Just stay safe and keep that scarf. It might be important evidence. I hung up the phone, my mind spinning. What did Daniel have to do with all this? What was really going on? I was still trying to process what the private investigator had told me when my phone rang again. The number was unfamiliar. Hesitant, I answered. Hello. The voice was sharp and firm. This is Miriam, Daniel's sister-in-law. We need to talk. My chest tightened. I remembered her from our wedding ceremony. What can I do for you? I asked. Miriam got straight to the point. I have information about Adanna. You need to know that she's trying to deceive you. Her words were harsh, but her voice wasn't steady. What do you mean? I asked, confused. Why would Adanna want to deceive me? Believe me, she's a gold digger, Miriam said. Daniel is too blind to see it. She got close to him because she wanted something, and now she's trying to take advantage of you too. I know you know about the affair. Anger fled inside me. Why are you telling me this? I demanded. What do you get out of this? The phone was silent for a moment. I heard Miriam take a deep breath. It is complicated, she said slowly. I care about Daniel. Adanna tricked him. She is not the person you think she is. I want to protect him. And you. Don't believe anything she says. Her words made me doubt everything I thought I knew. Was Adanna really lying to me? Or was Miriam trying to mislead me? A cold feeling crept up my spine. What do you really know about Daniel? I asked. If Adanna is the problem, what about him? Are you saying he's innocent? Miriam hesitated. Daniel has his secrets too, she admitted, but Adanna is dangerous. Her voice was lower now, almost desperate. What is going on? I demanded. I need to know. I can't explain everything now, she said. Just be careful. I want to warn you about Adanna before it is too late. My mind raced. Was she telling me the truth? Why should I trust you? I asked. How do I know you are not lying too? Miriam sighed. You have every right to question me. Just don't trust Adanna. Before I could say another word, she cut the line. The next Sunday, Daniel stood at the front of the church, speaking loudly and full of energy. Brothers and sisters, he said, we are starting a special offering for a mission trip. This is our chance to share God's word and help people in need. His eyes shone with excitement, and the congregation clapped, eager to give. But as I watched him, uneasiness grew in my chest. Something wasn't right. I didn't trust him anymore. I still had not heard from Adanna. She was not coming to church anymore. I had asked for her address from one of the girls in the choir, but after I got to her house, a landlord told me she had moved out months ago. I asked if he knew a new address, but he did not. Her number was also switched off. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. That night, I decided to investigate. We kept church donations in a safe in our room. I knew where he kept the key. He was sleeping when I tiptoed to his wardrobe to get the key. I opened the safe, and there was only a bundle of money inside. This didn't make sense. Daniel didn't trust the bank, so he kept all the church's money in the safe. Where had all the money gone? I decided to look through the church's financial records, and my heart pounded when I saw that more than 10 million naira was missing. Money that was supposed to be used for various upcoming projects the church had planned. But where had it gone? My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Could Daniel be planning to use this trip to run away with the money? I felt a mix of anger and fear. I had to find out the truth. The next evening, I entered our bedroom and chills ran down my spine. Daniel was packing a suitcase, quickly throwing clothes and other items inside. What are you doing? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. It is for the church, he said, not looking at me. His tone was calm, but I could hear a nervous edge. For the church, I repeated. Are you going somewhere? Just a short trip to set things up for the mission. I will be leaving tomorrow. Nothing to worry about, he replied, forcing a smile. But something in his eyes flickered, as if he was hiding something. I wanted to demand answers about the missing money, but I needed proof first. I took a deep breath and pretended to believe him. All right, but don't forget to pack warm clothes. It is very cold nowadays, I said. He nodded and kept packing, focused on his task. Do you need help? I asked sweetly, trying to distract him for a moment. No, I've got it, he said, waving me away. He seemed annoyed, but I needed him to stay focused elsewhere. All right, just be careful, I said, forcing a smile as I turned to leave. My heart pounded in my chest as I laid down in bed to sleep. The next morning, I waited a few seconds after he left the house, then followed him. I didn't know what I would find, but I needed the truth. I called the PI and told him what I was doing. He warned me to be careful and asked me to send him my location. He told me to wait for him once Daniel arrived at his destination. He emphasized that he was coming to meet me and didn't want me to do anything hastily. After a long drive, Daniel entered a road surrounded by tall trees and thick bushes. The house looked old and worn down. I took a deep breath and stepped forward carefully. Peeking through the window, I froze. Inside, Daniel sat on a wooden table, laughing loudly. His voice was full of joy. But he wasn't alone. Adanna was there too. Confusion clouded my mind. Has she been lying all along? Has she fooled me? Before I could react, another person walked into the room. I gasped softly. It was Miriam's husband, Daniel's brother. He walked up to Adanna and started to kiss her. I froze. Why was he kissing Adanna when she was having an affair with Daniel? After a few seconds, Daniel joined them, kissing Adanna's cheeks as he started taking her clothes off. I looked at Adanna's face and my breath caught. She looked terrified and scared. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she sat there quietly while her clothes were stripped away. I pressed against the wall, unable to believe what was happening right in front of me. I couldn't take it anymore. Adanna was clearly not consenting to what they were doing to her. My thoughts were everywhere. What would happen once I went inside? The idea of facing Daniel and his brother filled me with fear. Before I went inside, I called the PI. I raised the door and paused. I took a deep breath. I pushed the door open. "Daniel," I shouted. Both of them froze. Daniel's eyes went wide in shock. Adanna looked up in fear, her eyebrows raised. "What is going on here?" I gasped. "What are you doing to her?" "Please help me," Adanna said as she broke into tears. Daniel's face turned dark. His shock quickly transformed into anger. "This isn't what it looks like," he stammered, his confidence cracking. Before I could respond, I saw movement behind Daniel. His brother stepped forward, his jaw tight. Then I saw the glint of metal in his hand. He pulled a gun from his waistband. "Stay away from them," he shouted, his voice low and dangerous. I felt my chest tightened. I had walked straight into a nightmare. "Put that down," I demanded, trying to control my fear. "You don't want to do this." His brother sneered, his eyes cooled. "You think you can just walk in and ruin our plans? You should have stayed away." Adanna's hands trembled on the table. Her eyes moved between Daniel and the man with the gun. "Stop," I yelled. "Daniel, help me. I am your wife." "Enough," his brother shouted. He pointed a gun at me. His fingers trembled slightly. He wasn't as sure as he wanted to seem. "You don't know what you are talking about," he growled. "Daniel only cares about one thing, and it is not you." Daniel's face tightened. "Listen to me." Before he could finish, a loud crash interrupted him. The front door burst open, and police officers rushed inside, accompanied by the private investigator. "Drop your weapon," one officer yelled, pointing his gun at Daniel's brother. The sudden chaos filled the room as Daniel and his brother were put into handcuffs. I sat in the cold metal chair at the police station, my mind spinning. Through the glass window, I could see Daniel handcuffed, his head down. Hours ago, we were living together as husband and wife. Now everything had changed. Across from me, Adanna sat at another table. She still looked shocked. The officers began questioning her, and I could see her fear. Finally, an officer walked up to me. "We have enough information from the witnesses," he said. "Now we need to talk to you about what you saw. This is serious." I swallowed hard. "Daniel is Adanna's uncle," the officer said. "What?" I almost shouted in disbelief. "But he was kissing her." I felt my breath itch. Why? Why would he do that? The officer continued. "Adanna's mother died when she was 10 years old, and she was taken in by Daniel. That is when he and his brother began sexually assaulting her. After he married his first wife, she discovered what Daniel was doing when Adanna moved in with him. She called Miriam, who was married to Daniel's brother at the time, and instead of helping Adanna, Miriam reported her to Daniel. As a result, Daniel and his brother killed his wife right in front of Adanna. It was ruled a suicide, and Adanna was too scared to come forward with the truth. He also hid his relationship with Adanna within the church, so he could continue having sexual relations with her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked at Adanna as tears rolled down my face. That poor girl had been through so much. I put my face in my hands, trying to process the betrayal. Then the officer spoke again. Daniel has also been embezzling money from the church. He has been under investigation for some time now. Through the glass, I saw Daniel again. He looked small. Once, I loved him. Now, he was a stranger. Soon, the officers made their decisions. Miriam was arrested for aiding and abetting. She knew what her husband and Daniel were doing to Adanna, but did nothing to help. Daniel was arrested and charged with fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, and rape, along with his brother. I watched as they led him away, his face full of defeat. Adanna stared at Daniel as he was taken away, her expression a mix of anger and sadness. I couldn't imagine what she was feeling. She had been a victim of unimaginable cruelty, and now she was facing the reality that the people she should have been able to trust had betrayed her. I felt sorry for her. I went to her and hugged her. Adanna, I said softly, you didn't deserve this. I should have run away, but I was scared. After he married you, he got me my own place. I should have run, but they said they would find me wherever I went. I was about to tell you the truth that day. I was ready to tell you everything, but Daniel found me first, and he hurt me. I was locked away in that old house after that. I am so sorry. She looked at me, her eyes full of hate. You were just a child when it began. I told her, it is not your fault. We sat in silence. There was so much to process. After a few minutes, an officer returned. We need to ask Adanna more questions, she said. Of course, I replied, stepping back. As I walked to another part of the room, I glanced towards the office where Daniel had disappeared. How had everything fallen apart so quickly? Later, Adanna approached me. Can I stay with you for some time? She asked. I have nowhere else to go. Yes, you can. We have to stay strong, I said. She looked at me, determination in her eyes. Thank you, she said as she broke into tears again. Adanna looked at me. Thank you for being here. I don't know what I would have done alone. I smiled. We are in this together now. The truth had shattered our world, but it was also the start of something new. We were both ready to rebuild and face whatever came next. Appearances can be deceiving. Daniel was a pastor, and of course everyone would trust him because he was a man of God. But this man was abusing his niece. He was not the man people thought he was. So don't just trust people blindly. A lot of people with pious jobs are hiding terrible secrets. And like I always say, always trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Imagine if the woman in this story had ignored her instincts. Daniel would have continued with what he was doing. Always trust your instincts. I hope you enjoyed this story, and let me know down below what lessons you took from it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please don't forget to subscribe and like. Also turn on the notifications so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. See you next time. Okay, I'm done. Bye.